Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how that coming up with these seat patterns. You look at this diagram, you can get off the Samba. It takes a little bit of work to find it. And it shows you all the sizes of everything. You can even pause this if you want, but you know, it's a lot easier if you print it. So this diagram for the Samba shows all the stuff for the SO23, how big this seat stuff is, and that's all in inches. Then what I've got here is what we did a mock-up of we taped it on the wall, okay, in here. And then what I'm doing is I'm making patterns to make the seats. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take this is butcher paper. I get this in, you know, bulk, so I have a lot of it. But some of you guys might not have access to that. You know, I don't know if you can buy it in small sections of it, but it's pretty expensive to buy a big roll. But I have butcher paper, and I use this for sign stuff. I lay it on top of here, and then I take you can see here, I got a pencil, okay, and then best thing to use is if you have it is carbon paper. So kind of tape it up in place and then take carbon paper and rub over where the tape is. So lay it out with tape and then rub over where the tape is, and then that's your pattern. So that's how you make your patterns. Same way you do for signs. That's how we do stuff. So then I'm going to make those, and I got this width already, I got this piece already cut. Let's take a look at the saw. Right, and here's the pieces I cut for the front. They were 48 inches, or 47 inches. The seats are wide, I believe it is, something like that. I have to look at the plans again. I keep on having to stop and look at it. And so I cut those all straight across. Then what I'm going to do, these are going to be the front. I'm using 3/4 inch. I was not going to do this with 3/4 inch because it's so heavy. But man, it's just, there's no way. It's just too hard. And then this part's going to be angled, right? So I cut it a little bit longer. Then I'm going to use a planer. I'm going to plane it down, electric planer, and plane it down smooth. And then this is also going to have another piece of wood to back this up on the top edge, because the table lies down there, and when you lie down, you want it to be nice and strong. So I'm going to do that. And then to make the corners, I guess I'll try and figure that out as I get there. So it's very time consuming, so I can't make videos on each step and the how-to thing. It'll be way too hard for me to do the video and try and think everything through. Alright, so I'll talk to you in the next portion. Alright, so you can see here what I did. So you can see I just used one of these Harbor Freight crayons, what I had laying around. I didn't have any carbon paper, so carbon paper works the best. You just take it and just rub it on there, and man, it makes it beautiful. And just laid it out with tape, just got it in place where I wanted it, so the top and bottom and the edge lined up, because I knew that those were straight. And then laid it on there. I did one for this one the same way. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that pattern and cut this edge of it, and then I'll make a pattern. It's going to be a little more difficult to make this one, but I'll make a pattern for that edge there and make it so that, you know, this will be one side, this will be the other side, then that straight piece goes across, and then I just make the table or the chairs. So it's not easy, you know, and it's got to be pretty much dead to rights here to here, because the table hinge has to come down, and if it's crooked and it comes down, it won't line up and drop on the top of this thing. So it's going to be a little bit tough as far as that goes. They really made these things really engineered very tightly. So and you know, if you try to do it some other way, I was looking at it, you know, trying to make your own or whatever, it's a little more difficult. It would just be like, you could put a table leg in here like the newer campers have and make it removable, but then it's kind of a pain. You got that table leg sitting around. So I figured I'll do it the way that they did it because it was pretty smart, and I want to try and make it function like it was originally. But I'm not sure where this thing here is going to end up. I think it ends up, this cabinet comes right to here, the edge of this. I'm not sure. It's 47 inches, I believe. Let me just look here. It says 47.2. I think that's 47 and a quarter. So they, you know, 0.2 would be, 0.25 is a quarter. So it's probably somewhere around there. But I don't know why they didn't put them, in a quarter that way. But because it's done in inches, I measured everything. It wouldn't make sense in centimeters. So anyway, that's how that works out. So 47.2 to here, and then and your plywood's 48 inches wide, so only cut a couple inches off there, an inch, less than an inch off in that. Well, actually you have to subtract for because that's the outside diameter of the table or the chair. So to subtract 3/4 of an inch if you're using 3/4 inch plywood, and then subtract that out to make sure it's the total width is 47 and a quarter. Because there's got to be just enough room to put that other little thing in here in the bread box to fit. I'm actually going to make the pan form the bread box. I'll show you guys that later on in the videos on this. So yeah, those guys want. One guy has $5 grand. $5 grand for the bread box. You can kiss my ass. I'll fix it. I'll make one just like it. You won't even know. So this is the deal. Westfalia was pretty smart. So they figured out, probably they had this down to 22.5 and all this stuff, so that you could do this all in one cut on a piece of plywood. So this line can go straight across. So if you make one side, you just have one go straight across, and then this is the pattern that I had here. It's 3/4 of an inch. I backed it up 3/4 of an inch so that I can put the new piece of wood on here, and it gives you enough room so that this is actually the line for both. So you could back this off 3/4 of an inch, and then you've got both sides, and they'll be exactly the same height. That's how they did it. That's what I'm finding out, figuring out how reverse engineering whatever they did and trying to make it work out. So that's what they did, I'm sure, now that I look at it. That's why they came up with those distances. That's why this stuff is this angle, and they matched up one angle to the other and just made it work like that. All right guys, so what I was going to do now is kind of show you guys what I came up with on these pieces. I've got this one goes on the front or the back. Actually, if it goes on the front, I have to cut 3/4 of an inch off of here to make up for my what's it called, the plywood that I have on the floor. So haven't done that yet. So I have two of these for the right side seat as you face from the cargo doors. So I've got two of these for the cargo doors. I'll probably use this one for the front one because it's a little cleaner. I got a little bit of beat up edge on the other one. So I'm not a carpenter. I'm not good at carpentry. If you want your stuff to look like shit, that's when you have me do it. So anyway, here's the other side I got for the front one. Is like this, and then the back one is like this here. So it goes like this. So you got, this is the left side seat, okay, and these other two are the right side. So in the front, okay, what I did is I cut these back 3/4 of an inch so that I could put this here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Yeah, so I could put this and mount it like so this side, this one's in the very back corner. This is going to mount like this. Okay, so it's going to mount like that. And then I'm going to put a reinforcement piece in here to strengthen it up because it needs to be really strong. And I'm also going to glue and nail it. So, but it goes kind of like this. I think it goes kind of like that. And see, there's an edge right here. If you guys can even see it, hopefully you can. Right here, that's going to need to be leveled out. So I'm going to nail it first. Then I'm gonna take I have an electric planer, and I'm gonna plane this down to the right angle. Then I'm gonna reinforce the back side of it with some alder. So it's gonna have another piece of wood that goes here, some alder. And this one here, let's see, and then this piece. The one that's in the front, okay, so let me get onto that. The one that's in the front is going to have one of these mounted to the inside. And then, like this, like that. And then this piece will butt up against this piece and leave this part here exposed. So I'll have this edge exposed. And then what I'm going to do is put a piece of trim. I got this little 3/4 inch piece of trim, and then I'm going to route the edge around because that's kind of similar to the way it was made before. Again, they didn't make it with any of these types of materials. They did not use plywood. They used like a solid board, and 14-inch solid board. I looked at one of them and it was not even the same. It's so the grain's gonna be opposite. It's gonna be totally different than the way it was. I think the grain went this way. My grain's gonna go up and down, so it's not gonna look the same as the original. I'm not attempting to. I just want it to function the same. Function similar, because that's really what, the cool thing about the German engineered stuff is it functioned a certain way. And since we can't get those materials anymore, you can't get a 14-inch board that's all one piece. You have to piece it all together, then you have to glue it. I'm not going to do all that. That would just take days and weeks and months. Somebody else can do that. If you want to do that, you can do it, but that's like crazy. So, and some of the stuff you can't replicate. So I'm just going to go with what makes it function the same, makes it look similar, and and that's the most important thing to me. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and nail some stuff on. I'm going to go ahead and glue these on. I'm going to glue them and nail them. I'm using this Type Bond glue. So I'll put you guys on pause for a second, then we'll start doing some nailing. That's for the fun stuff. Put on the glue. I'm not going to put too much on. A little bit of glue on there. This one's going to butt flush to this one. Then I'm going to sand them to the same. Alright, so that's glued on there, and then I'm going to nail that piece in. Alright, with the old Harbor Freight nailer. Yeah, if I want an ear protection on that one. Alright, but I'm not going to put any nails too close to the top because I'm going to have to do some machine work. So this one is the front one in the left, and now this is going to actually, the plywood's going to mount sort of, I'll hold one up here so you can see. It's going to mount like this. plywood is when I put the straight sheet. You know, not this piece, but the straight sheet. So that one's ready. Let's go to the next one. All right, so same thing. I'll match it up here, back it off, roll it over. Just give it a little glue. I'm using the Tight Bond 3. I don't know if that's any better. Anybody knows, be sure to comment. I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to wood. I'm just doing what I look at and see. I've built enough stuff. I mean, I've built several things with wood, but I'm not a wood person. I can do stuff with metal, but not with wood. Put as many nails in there as I feel like it. Probably put more in the other one. Yeah, I can't go with too many nails. Alright, so that's I'll hit that with the planer before I put the sheet on there to try and straighten it out. I know it's probably going to chip up the edge a little bit. But of course, this is what I know how to do. Fix stuff. Wood putty. I'll make it look good. Okay, so that's that one. Let me just throw a couple more ones in here. Give me a hammer and make all your nails bend. That's one thing I'm really good at, bending nails. Okay, so this side is ready. These are the two front ones. So the back corners, again, they're gonna lay on top. They're gonna lay right on top of the edge. And it's gonna be a square corner in the back because you can't see it. The front one is gonna have a rounded corner that I'm gonna put on afterwards as a trim piece. So, and then what I'll do is I'll probably put some 45s in here to reinforce this to make sure it's really strong. And then I'll maybe put an L bracket on the top. I haven't decided yet. It needs to be really, really strong because you're going to lay down on that. All right, so that's that section. All right, so I got the one side in here. It fits pretty good. I like to do a little bit of finish work to it. But of course, you know, like I said, I'm not a carpenter. I got big chips in it and stuff like that. I'm not looking for a perfect looking job. I just want it to be functional and look okay, and when somebody looks at it, you know, it looks like wood. You know, anything else is a benefit. So I got one side in. I'm going to set the other side in here, and got these corners glued and nailed, but I'm going to actually put still another layer of wood around the top because you have to, you know, the little seat moves around or whatever. I can imagine in the middle of the night, you know, have that thing move around or something, and one end of it fall down inside. So it should be wood out to about here, I think. That's the way they are, the other ones I've seen. So I'll do that, and then I think I'm going to put some L brackets on the top here, metal L brackets, some flat ones, and then angle my screws in so they don't poke through, and go from there. So we kind of got the seats arranged here, got some of the nasty stuff fixed up on there. Again, my nail heads are showing. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to try and make a full custom, you know, house upholstery. I'm just trying to make it like a camper. So we got the table mocked up. This stuff all fits in place where it's at. Everything seems to be working. Just the complicated part is actually making these two tables have to be perfectly square, because you only are on here a little about ½ an inch on each side of this. So, and that's how this thing works. So then I gotta make the tops for these. Okay, we were thinking, well, we're gonna have to make those out of 3/4 inch as well. I don't know what size they were originally. We might have to put some blocks of wood in the corners or something like that, so it doesn't, so they can't fall off, you know, or slide around. So we're gonna do that, and then we still gotta make those. Right now we're working on the hinge setup for these. So there's 2 hinges that go on here, and we have very vague plans on those. So I mean, they're so, I had to go by like memory. I've seen them, but for some reason I didn't get them in the video I had, so up close or whatever. For some reason I did not get those. They might be in another video I have online, but I'm not sure. And then there's this piece of wood right here that goes on that wall. Okay, it goes on that wall and it hangs out on either side of the table like that. And what it does is it ties that post in. There's a metal post that goes right there behind that, and there's one that goes right behind that clamshell light that goes straight down. And it makes it so that you can put this part of this thing underneath. I think it's underneath. I'm guessing. I don't know. If you have an SO23, that'd be cool to know. I think it goes underneath and dangles down like that. Okay, and then there's a oval shaped hole right here that when you flip this thing up into position, that you pull this latch through that hole, and then this thing's gonna dangle on the, like this. It'll be, when this thing flips up, it's like that. This thing will be there, and then you can just reach through and then hook it and then screw it up, and then that holds the table up. It's really complicated, but you know, if you look at how that it works, there's really not any other way to design this much better that I could think of, unless I wanted to make my table so that I have to pull it out, and then I have to make it, you know, make like a little edge on here to make it so it can't fall out, and then be kind of Mickey Mouse. I thought, well, why not just stay with the original, keep it the way they made it. I'm gonna try to make everything function like it did originally. That's the whole idea. And then I got my water pump. I got the switch coming for that. That was expensive because I had to get one that was long enough to go through up to 3/4 inch thick plywood, which is only marine. So I had to get a marine water pump switch. That was kind of high dollar. We have to put the hole in here and then the door on here too, and I'm not sure how to make that door yet. So I'm kicking it around, but I haven't really figured that out. So anyway, that's the progress on this thing. Talk to you in the next portion.